From Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is The Pulse.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Izzy Carvalho.
And I'm Stefan Ayanian, and this is The Pulse.
This episode of The Pulse marks our 40th show, and in honor of that, Shannon Savinsky got in touch with students from years past to see what they learned from their time on the show, how it helped them progress, and what The Pulse meant to them.
From Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is The Pulse.
Hi.
Hi everyone.
Hi, my name is Dominic Daniele.
My name's Dan Ilya.
My name is Amanda Saliano.
My name is Anthony Materiello. I worked on The Pulse from 2015 to 2017.
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from The Pulse,
Not just about the industry, but a lot about myself.
The Pulse was an incredible foundation for going into the real world.
The importance of storytelling.
Going out and finding your story. I think that's some of the biggest stuff I've learned.
Making sure that your story is concise, it's balanced.
You can't just go out there and shoot a bunch of audio and video. You really have to storyboard your idea and make sure that the viewer is going to take something away from your story.
collaborative minds, ideas, and being open to all different walks of life.
Collaboration is so important in the professional workspace.
Collaborate with producers and other crew members in order to kind of produce a professional and well thought out new show.
Preparation is key in TV, and being able to have things readily available is definitely what takes you to the next level.
If changes need to be made, which they often are, or more work pops up, you're ready to do whatever needs to be done and do it well.
Roll with anything. The media world is something that really is changing at any second, especially with breaking news and everything else going on in society.
I learned as a senior producer for The Pulse how to adapt and make the show still work.
I had more of a mind of a producer than I did before when I did The Pulse, because there were the opportunities to just do more.
Being pushed out of my comfort zone on multiple occasions, that really gave me the self-confidence to step into a production role and say, sure, I could do that.
It's just been incredible to come out of The Pulse and then just feel that confidence coming out of it, knowing that I was ready and prepared.
When you're in the real world, when you get a real job, it's just so you're kind of thrown into it, and you have to be versatile.
It's always good to kind of have an open mind and be creative and just see what you bring to the table as well.
The Pulse has set me up for success, and I'm really grateful for that and all the opportunities it brought for me in my career.
Everything we did in The Pulse is what I do now. So I would say that that The Pulse was a huge stepping stone to making me be able to do what I do now and what I do today.
It's going to inspire you, and I see that every single day, and I'm inspired every day by someone new.
Always thinking of what Professor Al Kapsher would say in class, and then it's kind of subconsciously ingrained in my brain there.
The last day of our class ever, and he told us to fail forward. And I remember I wrote that down in my notes, actually, in my iPhone, because it's just a reminder that especially during your 20s, you're not totally certain yet. You're still finding yourself and what you want to do. And if you fail, don't let it knock you down completely. It's about the comeback.
I cherish the time I had with The Pulse ever since.
On behalf of all of us, thank you for joining us.
That's a wrap on this year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Until next time, this is The Pulse. We'll see you next time on The Pulse.
That was really special. It's wonderful to see how our alumni are doing and to see what The Pulse meant to them.
It just goes to show that we are a family. Let's catch up with 3 more Sacred Heart alumni who are still working together years after they graduated from SHU.
On our second edition of Alumni Spotlight, Anthony Saccone takes us behind the scenes of Lark Media, a production company started and run by proud Sacred Heart alumni.
Imagine you're sitting in a classroom at Sacred Heart, and 10 years down the line, you are with your fellow alumni and working on a shoot with the shortstop of the New York Yankees.
Steve Armato. I graduated Sacred Heart University in 2011, and I am the owner of Lark Media.
My name is Manny Santiago. I graduated in 2009, and right now, technically, I'm a freelance director of photography and editor.
My name is Dan Nevenpera. I am a 2010 graduate of Sacred Heart, and I am currently a producer and camera operator for different companies in reality television.
Lark Media is a digital content creation company which in short means we make commercials for the internet.
One of Lark Media's largest clients and biggest believers is fitness professional and entrepreneur Sean T.
He's been our largest client. He actually gave me the start. He basically said, I have work for you. If you want it, it's yours. He said I could invest in your company or I could give you projects and make you work for it. And I owe him a lot because he gave me my start to this whole thing.
After graduating Sacred Heart, each of the 3 alumni went on their own path, but eventually realized that working together was in their best interest.
We all wanted to do something and we all decided that we're going to start our own production companies. And then we realized maybe if we do stuff together, everyone has their strength.
Let's go.
Steve didn't want to shoot anymore. That's good. He's a producer, I'm a camera guy. Danny's an AC and a camera guy. So it's kind of like, instead of being individuals, the group thing was the most important part, and that's how we're starting to get more jobs.
Danny, who fills in when needed for Lark Media, plays a large role in producing some of the large shows you may have heard of for the Food Network.
I want to see some cake! The first job I got in reality TV, I was a PA on a Food Network show. At the time, it was Cake Boss was still on Food Network. Once I got in with that crew, I started working on bigger studio shows. Cooks vs. Cons, Bakers vs. Fakers, Chopped, very food oriented.
Some of the larger clients for Lark Media include Gleyber Torres of the New York Yankees.
I made relationships with his agent when I was working for a large company. I kept that relationship, and in turn, his agent has now given us jobs with him, and that's been a blessing.
Gleyber Torres was awesome, man. I'm a big Yankee fan. I'm from Long Island, diehard Yankee fan. It was like a dream come true. You're hanging out with one of the Yankees. It was a gig that I will never forget, that's for sure. And it was cool. We got balls signed by him, and you're hanging out with the shortstop of the Yankees. It's not like every day you get that opportunity,
Over the years of working together after graduating Sacred Heart, Steve and Manny have gone from co-workers to friends to family.
Like Steve and I are like brothers. He married me and my wife. So it's kind of like, yeah, we work well together and nothing's really changed.
At the end of the day, the money doesn't matter because it's just awesome to do it with people that you're close with and that you care about.
Reporting from Fairfield, Connecticut, I'm Anthony Saccone.
Stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll take you behind the scenes of possibly one of your favorite radio shows. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Let's hear from one of the voices behind New York's #1 music station.
You may have never met him, but you've spent quite some time driving in your car listening to him. Maxwell Jones of Z100 gives us an inside look into how the music industry has been affected by the ongoing pandemic. Callie DeAgostinas is here to give us a closer look at the story.
And now to the latest on the coronavirus.
The coronavirus.
It is safe to say that for the past year, the ongoing COVID-19 protocols caused an upheaval in facing the unknown. Many industries were placed on a pause with diligent measures needed to be taken. The music industry and the entertainment industry are one of many that have been hurt and greatly affected by the pandemic. Maxwell Jones of Z100 New York gives us an inside scoop of what being a radio jock in a pre-COVID atmosphere was like compared to a compromised and socially distanced one.
Because it's affected us drastically. As we all know, music, it kept going on, which was an amazing thing to see the artists and to hear the artists really adapt and still create during this crazy pandemic. But the live music aspect completely stopped here in the States, at least, and in those countries that are affected drastically by the pandemic. So for radio in particular, as you can kind of look around and see, I'm at home. So I guess, you know what, it feels weird. I'll just show you what the studio setup kind of looks like. I have a full-on like broadcast situation over here. I've got like monitors where I can link into the radio station through this computer, through that computer, microphones. Like it's nuts. So yeah, it's affected us in my industry tremendously. Everything is done through Zoom. I mean, it's really been crazy. I haven't seen any one of my favorite celebrity friends in person. When you're in studio with an artist, it's a lot easier to have that connection.
For others, counting down the days for a reopening on concerts, bars, and nightclubs seems to feel like eternity.
So the opportunity to see live shows, to go to concerts, to hang out at bars and clubs, I just can't wait to get back to those normal, random, everyday, anything can happen at any given moment type of situations.
Let's be patient and hope for concerts, music festivals, tours, performances, and a piece of reality to begin once again. For The Pulse, this is Callie D'Augustinus, Fairfield, Connecticut.
Lacrosse is one of the sports with very little recognition at a professional level, especially during coronavirus. Jack Concannon, goalie for the Atlas lacrosse team in the Premier League, gives us an inside look of how he has been able to stick with his team under COVID-19.
Concannon, a Long Island native from Lindenhurst, has been practicing extensively to maintain his athletic precision despite challenges from the coronavirus.
You know, it's been a challenge for everybody, kind of adjusting on the fly. This is all new stuff to us, especially for an athlete, going into this pandemic. Most gyms were shut down. I think that's a big part of it. As a professional athlete, preparation in the off season, you got to be on a strict workout regimen. So specifically for me, I was lucky enough. My brother has a full gym in his garage. So when gyms were shut down, I was hitting it hard there. And now transitioning, into things starting to opening up. I go to a strength and conditioning facility 4 days a week, half strength and conditioning and half lacrosse specific stuff.
Concannon graduated from Hofstra University in 2018, and the transition of playing lacrosse at a collegiate level to professional is still tough for him.
It's a different, I think you need to adjust. You're not in school anymore. A lot of us are working full-time jobs. So I think that's a challenge. I think that's probably the biggest challenge. I work 5 days a week. So it's about putting in that same time, and staying dedicated and on, in a routine.
One of Jack's biggest fans is his cousin Mariah, who has always been a supporter throughout his career. She appreciates the hard work and dedication he's invested in himself.
The hard work that Jack dedicates to lacrosse on a day in, day out basis is a amazing talent and something to look up to, and I'm really proud of him for that. Me and my family were from a small town in Connecticut, but we would go down and watch his Hofstra lacrosse games when he was playing for Hofstra, and that was a ton of fun. So yeah, I definitely miss being able to see some of those games.
The challenge Jack feels the team faces is communication. A majority of the players meet on a regular basis at practices and scheduled events. This year has certainly tested his ability to be team leader.
It's a challenge to stay, connected. It's a challenge to be a leader from, a different state when you can't come together and practice or work out together. So, you have to come up with different, approaches and different ways to stay on the same page. And, we are preparing for a season, despite not being, in the same locker room as each other right now, we do need to be on the same page, as we approach the training camp.
For The Pulse, I'm Stefan Ayanya. Stay tuned and we'll be right back after this break with a sports update.
After all your hard work, the studying, practices, and rehearsals, you deserve the best for what's next. The best in Connecticut higher education. Outstanding nursing and health professions programs, premier learning facilities and world-class tech labs, a nationally ranked business school, modern residential, social, and recreational facilities, championship D1 athletics, and pro-level performing arts. Make your next step the best step. Apply now to Sacred Heart University.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Before we get into college athletics, let's take a step into the world of high school sports.
The ongoing pandemic has caused the fear of the unknown for high school athletes everywhere, especially the high school seniors of the Fairfield Ward basketball team. Unfortunately, unlike the NCAA, these seniors don't get an extra year of eligibility. Our own Jack Ravitz caught up with the team during an unusual and emotional senior night.
Hello, I'm Jack Ravitz. We're here at Fairfield Ward High School to cover the varsity boys basketball senior night and the adversity they've had to overcome to get here.
Number 3, Austin Kern, escorted by her father Tom and mother Casey.
On March 11, the Fairfield Ward boys basketball team suited up for a night to celebrate and reflect on their time as Mustangs. Joined by their parents, the ceremony began just before tip-off. We were fortunate enough to catch up with the 5 senior captains before their special night to get their perspective on this turbulent season on an emotional night.
You know, I'm just glad that we're able to play. You know, it's all that matters to me is like we're able to get on the court and everything.
Extremely grateful. I mean, going back a year ago, like right around this time when the whole COVID pandemic started, I just never knew if I was going to have a season. I was just extremely grateful to be able to come out here one last time and play.
Even though the Mustangs were able to play tonight, the confidence in this season even happening hasn't always been there.
It took a toll at first. When they ended the season last year, everyone was hopeful for another, it wasn't even in the question that we weren't gonna have another season next year. We were like, okay, we'll just come back next year. And then when it kept going, we started getting more and more down. It was especially hard for me because my dad coached JV here when I was growing up. So I was here hanging around for like 4 years old, hanging around with the guys. So I always dreamed of playing as a senior. So it would have hurt. It would have hurt.
The mindset has been positive with these seniors, making sure they still leave their mark in their own way while trying to make it a memorable year to look back on.
I would say I'm remembering this season. I'm trying not to remember it by COVID, but I'm trying to remember it by what I have and what I can make of it.
To see these young men handle these challenging times so effortlessly is a testament to their maturity. To them, it's all about gratefulness and appreciation.
As a kid growing up, I've always dreamed of playing high school basketball, so missing out on my senior year would have been tragic.
Head coach Ryan Swaller has a long basketball background. He was a walk-on for the men's basketball team at the University of Connecticut and was a part of their 2004 national title team. Coach Swaller, who's now in his 12th season at the helm here at Fairfield Ward, talked about the difficulties of coaching through a pandemic and how special it is to be having games, let alone senior night.
A year ago, the seniors were juniors, and the role on their team was obviously different than the year is. And as we faced it last year of being shut down, the uncertainty and taking and knowing that each day we have, for us, and this is basketball sports, and sports is one thing, but don't take a game for granted. Don't take a practice for granted. We were thinking we had an extra game next year. We won our last game, and it got canceled on us. So the seniors from last year, didn't get a chance to play, and the seniors this year almost didn't have a season. And the fortunate to be able to play and get games and to compete. Looking at a day-by-day basis, teams are shut down. We could have, throughout the year, we were fortunate, knock on wood, we were lucky because we got a chance to play 11 games. 10 being tonight and our 11th on Saturday. And then, we don't know. We could play tonight and we wake up tomorrow and unfortunately, COVID could have affected us and we'd be shut down. So, we are very fortunate and happy and pleased to have gotten a chance to compete and play as, a Mustang family for those 10 games so far this season.
Fortunately for these Mustangs, they didn't have to do this alone. The community and district had their back, which is always the beauty of high school sports. Current interim athletic director Dan Schultz shines some light on the full team behind-the-scene efforts to make this all possible.
The head principal here, he's 100% supportive and really helps. He'll be here tonight for senior night. Our school nurses are also, just as dedicated. Our town DPH and nursing head nurse, really works to let us know if we do need to contact trace and who our athletes are and keep us informed.
And as these seniors move on, they'll always be remembered for how they handled adversity and came out stronger. It would appear the stars would align here today as the Mustangs won a close one, 47-44. Now hoping to create some momentum heading into the playoffs. And we wish them the best of luck going forward. I'm Jack Ravitz with The Pulse, Fairfield, Connecticut. Back to you guys in the studio.
Sacred Heart Athletics are back in full swing with a combination of fall and spring sports being played throughout the spring semester. Here is Dan Gardella and Mackenzie Carboni with a mid-season sports roundup.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Shoe Sports Roundup. I'm Dan Gardella.
And I'm Mackenzie Carboni.
After what turned out to be a quiet fall and winter seasons, business is booming in Sacred Heart sports.
Multiple sports that have been played during the fall have been postponed and now being played during the spring, keeping Sacred Heart fields busy.
Let's start on the gridiron, where Sacred Heart football has an abbreviated spring season after having their fall season postponed.
The Sacred Heart football team has a 4-game abbreviated schedule that began against Duquesne on March 7th. The Pioneers are 2-1 on the season, falling to Duquesne and defeating Long Island University and Merrimack College. The final game of the regular season will be played at Wagner College on March 28th. Number 1 and number 2 seeds of the 4-team conference will compete in the single match NEC championship in April.
Well, let's move over to the bowling lanes, as the Sacred Heart bowling team, which has been successful year in and year out, they're in season as well.
The regular season for the women's bowling team kicked off on January 30th against Long Island University. The team has a record of 15-5 and stand in second in the Northeast Conference. The team went 3-1 in the Northeast Roundup on March 12th. The season concluded after the first round of the Northeast Conference Championship, after the Pioneers fell to Fairleigh Dickinson 2-1.
Yeah, and obviously bowling, football, two of the many sports that go on. Another one that's going on is the wrestling program. The wrestling program at Sacred Heart has had a historic 2020-21 season. Prior to their competition this winter, the program announced that they would be adding a women's division that will begin in the fall of 2021. On the mat, however, even more history was made. For the first time in the program's history, the team sent wrestlers to the NCAA tournament in St. Louis. Redshirt juniors Joe Acousti and Nick Palumbo represented Sacred Heart at the national level, behind the leadership of fourth-year head coach John Clark. While the season is over, the future is certainly bright.
Speaking of a bright future, the ice hockey team has something coming up in the near future.
Yeah, as we close out this sports roundup with another program on the rise. On March 15th, Sacred Heart broke ground on the Martiri Family Arena. The $70 million, 3,500-seat arena will be home to the men's and women's ice hockey teams beginning in 2023. On top of that exciting news, it was also announced that the first game on the new ice will be between the Pioneers and national powerhouse Boston College on January 14th, 2023. The women's team will get to host Harvard the next day.
That's all for this edition of the Sports Roundup. Let's send it back to Maisie and Stefan.
It's great to see athletics on all levels being played after such a long hiatus. After this, you won't want to miss out on our next edition of the Alumni Spotlight. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. There is a new art exhibit at the Shoe Art Gallery. It is an exhibit by an artist who speaks out about current societal issues through her paintings. Here is Cara Gilo with the story.
Since the age of 6, Isabel discovered her passion for art and has been making her own work ever since. This recent Shoe graduate created several unique paintings that were displayed in the Edgerton Atrium on campus. Isabel's art speaks out about several issues that society faces today, especially ones that hit home for her in Ukraine. Here is her message.
I want to reinforce the global environmental movement, elevating the message about global warming, environmental pollution, and female empowerment to another level of perception through my unique style and monumental size of artworks. With this painting, I really wanted to bring awareness. That was a portrait of a Russian surfer who became a victim and a witness of the toxic spill in Kamchatka's peninsula. The problem was that 95% of the marine was killed. And I'm really concerned about that, but because I believe that ocean belongs to all of us and we have to care and protect it. Another one, which is very important, I would say, for me as a woman, is a Greta Thunberg portrait. The title of the painting is Greta Thunberg School Strike for Climate. That the translation of the sign she always carries with her. And why it's important for me, of course, because she is a girl. I hope that more women gonna be empowered to speak out and to change our world for better.
Isabel says that every painting takes about 2 to 3 months to complete. Because of the size and message of the display, this is a very challenging process both physically and emotionally.
And the third one is called The Origin of the World and depicts the naked woman. This painting is a remake of well-known Gustave Courbet artwork with the same title. And with this painting is the celebration of the beauty of female body. Also, I really wanted to bring the parallel that our planet and nature is a feminine gender through its fertility and ability of producing life. Every kind of injustice or harm that I can observe happening in our society makes me feel like to stand up, to speak out. I feel like my art is a tool to deliver a social sensitive messages. I'm lucky because I do what I love and that makes me feel happy. Even though the message is pretty tense, still I have that dream and finally this dream came true.
For The Pulse, this is Kara Gilo, Fairfield, Connecticut.
As isolation and quarantine continue in 2021, there is a new social media app called Clubhouse, which connects people from all across the globe. Catherine Endes has the story.
Clubhouse is connecting people in a time of isolation and quarantine. The audio chat-based app was released for beta testing in April 2020. Now, almost a year later, it is the new social media app that everyone is trying to get an invite to.
Heavily invested in the motivational speech and social media influencing business. I am a social media influencer of 4 years.
Fashion blogger, podcast host, and student at Adelphi University, Sarah Guarino shares her experience using the app.
One of my favorite ways to use Clubhouse is actually in the morning when I'm getting ready, because there's a lot of great clubhouses on fashion, and it's really nice to get to hear about all the different aspects of it, as that's something I'm really interested in. And that's like the primary way I guess I use it now, since I'm really busy with school. And then during the day I don't really go on it too much, but then at night I usually hop back on, because that's probably the busiest time, because I feel like it works for all the time zones the best later at night.
College students are not the only ones using Clubhouse to connect. Businesswoman, author, and TEDx speaker Tara Garrity shares her thoughts on the new social media platform.
Actually, the reason I joined Clubhouse, believe it or not, was I initially joined thinking this will be a great platform for me to be able to reach other families and connect with medical professionals and kind of spread my message, which is using fun and laughter and gratitude as a coping tool when a family is going through kind of a devastating diagnosis, right? And I got onto the app and there just wasn't that community yet. There's just starting to get there, that community. I'm literally just kind of hand piecing people together at this point. But that was the whole reason I initially joined. But then there's also these smaller communities, which in particularly right now, in today's world, where people still feel isolated, where things aren't still back to where they are. And depending on where you live in the world, some places are still really on a shutdown or a lockdown. It gives you a chance in real life to have real connections and to have those conversations that I think people are starving for after this past year.
Even though some parts of the world are still feeling the negative effects of the pandemic, Clubhouse has been a positive to come out of these unprecedented times.
Definitely would say it's positive just because since everything's like real time, like live, anything that like happens just happens. It's not written anywhere. So like if there's any negative energy coming from a room, you just leave the room. Whereas like on something like Instagram, a comment gets posted and it's like on you or the other person to like literally go and physically delete the comment. But here I feel like it's a lot easier to like get yourself out of a space that maybe if you don't like the energy it's giving, you can just leave. But I think that even once we're out of quarantine, that the whole aspect of being able to, you know, network with people around like the country and around the world is just very appealing to people.
In a post-pandemic society, socializing looks different, and Clubhouse is giving people in all corners of the world a new way to connect. For The Pulse, I'm Catherine Andes, Fairfield, Connecticut.
That's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to our 40th show of The Pulse, and we hope to bring you guys many more to come. I'm Maisie Carvalho.
And I'm Stefano Ionian. We'll see you guys next time on The Pulse.